The county has, for whatever reason, also refused to produce the network routers. We want the routers, Sonny. Wendy, we got to get those routers, please. The routers. Come on, Kelly, we can get those routers. Those routers, you know what? We're so beyond the routers. There's so many fraudulent votes without.
Are we? Because you don't sound like you're beyond them.
But if you got those routers, what that will show, and they don't want to give up the routers. They don't want to give them. They are fighting like hell. Why are these commissioners fighting not to give the routers? How simple could it be? That will tell the truth.
Because I've seen what you've tweeted about vaccines in the past. You've used the word vaccine in a quote as if this isn't a real vaccine. You've said that these haven't passed their trials when they have passed their phase 3 clinical trials. You've said that young people shouldn't get the vaccine when really we know that in order to reach herd immunity, young people have to get this vaccine. Aren't you part of the problem here?
Should I get a Tom Harwood tweet approval passport as well? Would that help?
I think everyone should, really. I mean, that would really help.
I feel for you as a person, because as a young man, you're very disproportionately worried about this thing that's not going to do you any harm. So, you know, and also you constantly yourself tweet the endlessly follow the government line, and, you know, journalism is about exploring
I've been deeply critical of this government. I think they were slow to introduce masks. I think that they have slowed down on the vaccine rollout. I think there have been many, many missteps that this government have taken, and they've been weak on the borders. So I have not been at all recalcitrant in my criticism of the government. But I do think that there is a real, genuine problem when people with large followings tweet out to many, many people that they shouldn't take this vaccine, when we know the hell that this country has been through for the last year and a half. The way out of this is the vaccine. And potentially it would be a good thing if you were to tell your legions of followers to actually get the jab. Not to coerce them, not to force them, but to say that it's actually a good thing to get vaccinated.
I will have my team run my next set of tweets past you, Tom, and you can exercise my freedom of speech for me. Is that what you're after? Because I'm more than happy to do that if you'd like.
Well, I'm not trying to.
You're asking me to tweet what your opinion, and I'm not going to.
Well, I'm asking you.
Oh, have you had your vaccines yet or not?
No, I haven't. No.
Why?
Well, for starters, I had COVID. I was tested positive for COVID, and I recovered from COVID last year. So I've got antibodies, right? And I think the latest data shows that actually you've got equivalent immunity in terms of antibodies versus having the vaccine. And, you know, if you look at ONS data, I think they're saying now that 92% of the adult population, that's all over 16 years old, have got antibodies now. So I think, you know, this argument is really becoming...
James, have you actually been tested and your local hospital have said, yes, here you are, you have antibodies, you have no need for a vaccine? Have they done that?
Well, they haven't said I've had no need for a vaccine, but I've been tested positive. We know how it came into the household, and I was actually quite ill for about 6 weeks with it. It was probably a little bit worse than a bad bout of flu. But, you know, I recovered and you know, now I've got antibodies, so I don't see the need.
Yeah, but doctors don't say you've had it. They don't say you don't need the vaccines.
That didn't answer my question.
They say, you know, you still should have the vaccines, don't they?
Well, yeah, okay, they might say that, but the thing is, if you've got antibodies from natural immunity, that is equivalent. And actually, there's.
Well, why would they say it then? Why would they say you should have it? Why wouldn't they say you don't need it then?
Well, listen, you know, authorities can say lots of things and the government can say a lot of things. We don't all have to do exactly what the government says. I mean, we live in a free society.
No, your doctor I'm talking about, not the government. You're saying you know better than your doctor.
Well, I'm listening to medical advice, actually, because...
Ask those that are getting it! Has there been any deaths? Ask them what is in it! Ask them! Get their names! You email them to me, the medical revolutionaries at protonmail.com, with a group of lawyers. We are collating all that. At the Nuremberg trials, the doctors and nurses stood trial, and they hung. If you are a doctor or a nurse, now is the time to get off that bus. Get off it and stand with us, the people. All around the world, they are rising.
They've posted these videos showing the lifeboats out rescuing people. Yes, we know that's what the lifeboats do. But they've got a bit further than that. They've clearly, head office in Poole, have clearly employed a PR company. And what PR companies try to do is find some victims, or find a victim, and find somebody who is the baddie. I wonder whether the RNLI have used the same PR firm that Harry and Meghan are using. Because the victims are people working on the lifeboats, and we're told they're having abuse shouted at them by members of the public. I can't say for certain that hasn't happened, but I can assure you I haven't said any abusive words to members of the lifeboat crews. I feel sorry for them and for their predicament. But the baddie, of course, is me. It's me daring to say, and there we see The Guardian, daring to say that the lifeboat service was being used for a different purpose and had become an arm of the border force. So I'm the baddie that's led to this situation that means horrible things are being said about lifeboatmen.
We can't let this happen. Yet this is only the beginning of the irregularities the Arizona audit is uncovering. The authors and the auditors have collected a sworn affidavit stating...
So the auditors have uncovered the authors, and the authors found affidavits.
You can tell because we know that there are many different vaccines. Novavax, for example, has not yet been approved. Moderna has been approved. AstraZeneca has been approved. Pfizer has been approved. But there are other, like J&J and like Novavax, that haven't yet. There's the difference in terms of passing your clinical trials and not. What I think you're referring to, and what you refer to a lot online, is this idea of the post-trial study, which goes on for a couple of years after the trials. That's not part of those clinical trials. Those clinical trials have been passed, and I think it would be a good thing to stop spreading misinformation over this.
Right. As I said, I'll pass my tweet through you next time, and you can exercise my freedom of speech for me.
Because the Scottish Government are insisting, basically, they're letting us know just how authoritarian they are, right? And how much they, I guess, want to coerce people into doing stupid things. So the Scottish Government are insisting that employees sign emails with the correct pronouns, right? So you have to display your pronouns. And a recent poll showed that the majority of civil servants are against the move. And you think, oh, well, just maybe don't do it. Like, maybe civil servants have other priorities to focus on, like running the country. You know, that could be an important priority, at least to me, and I imagine to most taxpayers in Scotland.
Yes.
So
We want the routers, Sonny. Wendy, we got to get those routers, please. The routers.
You're wrong, and you're a grotesquely ugly freak. Thanks.